A brief overview of mesothelioma by Francisco Rodriguez. Mesothelioma >http://www.mesotheliomaattorneyfreeconsultation.com is a form of cancer which occurs in thin membranes called the mesothelium lining the chest, lungs, abdomen and sometimes the heart. Although quite rare, mesothelioma symptoms strike more than 200 people each year in the United States. The majority of mesothelioma cases are directly linked to asbestos exposure. Because of the long latency period of mesothelioma, the average age of patients is between 50 and 70 years. Mesothelioma affects men most due to the high exposure of asbestos in industrial-type jobs. Mesothelioma symptoms include respiratory problems, shortness of breath, continual cough and pneumonia. Other mesothelioma symptoms include weight loss, abdominal problems and swelling. In some mesothelioma patients, the mesothelioma symptoms are quite muted, making it hard for mesothelioma doctors to diagnose. The primary cause of mesothelioma is exposure to asbestos. This can be direct exposure at the workplace, or secondary exposure when the victim is exposed to asbestos through coming in contact with someone who has already been exposed to asbestos. Despite all the pain and the loss that the workers faced, there was some hope in the form of legal recourse. Workers started suing the plants they worked in, and soon the legal battle against mesothelioma reached epic proportions. Even today, there are around 3,000 cases of mesothelioma being diagnosed in the United States every year. While the treatment is painful and not always successful, these mesothelioma victims at least have the hope of monetary compensation to help them fight mesothelioma. The first manifestations of mesothelioma were seen as early as the 1950s and the 1960s. At that time, the workers in plants and other work areas that used asbestos in some form or the other were unaware of the lethal side of asbestos. The management at these work areas, docks, industrial plants, equipment manufacturers, and many more, the list is endless, soon came to know of the adverse effects of asbestos. However, for some reason they kept quiet about it. Their focus was on reduced costs and profits, it seems, and they remained mum about the harmful effects that asbestos could have on their workers. Asbestos, after all, had huge advantages over other material, which was why it was used so much irrespective of the genre of industry. This over the years proved to be a very, very costly error on their part. Mesothelioma definition. Mesothelioma is defined as an uncommon form of cancer, usually associated with previous exposure to asbestos. In this disease, malignant cancerous cells develop in the mesothelium, a protective lining that covers most of the body's internal organs. Malignant mesothelioma cells proliferate at the affected area, and are usually very hard to remove totally. The legal aspect of mesothelioma over the years. The legal benefits that mesothelioma victims have received have been enormous. The symptoms of mesothelioma manifest much after the initial inhalation of the asbestos fibers. Mesothelioma treatment is also painful and expensive. The compensations awarded to them have helped them at least cover their medical expenses. Nowadays there are mesothelioma law firms that specialize in mesothelioma. They have trained mesothelioma lawyers and mesothelioma attorneys. These lawyers specialize in mesothelioma compensation cases. It can happen that a victim may shy away from legal recourse because they felt that they do not have adequate financial support to pay the lawyer. However, this is a scenario they need not worry about. All they have to do is contact a mesothelioma support group, or a mesothelioma help group. These are present all over the United States. The patient can also go online and put a search for mesothelioma legal assistance cells by typing mesothelioma and then typing the name of the state or area they are from in the search field of the search engine they are using. This is not a fixed rule, they can type it in any order. For example, mesothelioma California, mesothelioma Texas, mesothelioma lawyer Texas, New York mesothelioma, California mesothelioma lawyer, etc. At http://www.mesotheliomacancerandasbestos.com. The website contains useful resources on mesothelioma lawyers and attorneys, as well as causes by asbestos exposure, asbestos removal, asbestos attorneys and lawsuits, and asbestos cancer. Patients stricken by mesothelioma and their families require support and current information. Mesothelioma Online Resources hopes to educate and give hope to survivors and victims. Mesothelioma is such a harsh disease. Not only does it take years for symptoms to appear, but there are limited treatments and drugs that will prolong the lives of workers stricken with mesothelioma. In many cases, the death rate of mesothelioma is unfortunately very high. However, with increased funding in mesothelioma research through the government and private grants, the outlook for a mesothelioma cure is quite possible. In the meantime, mesothelioma support groups and local discussions provide the ongoing support for mesothelioma patients. Francisco Rodriguez about the author, mesothelioma attorney http://www.mesotheliomaattorneyfreeconsultation.com lawsuit.